Hello, and welcome back to the Oceania 7K World Cup 2026. We have two matches happening right now in this particular block. Welcome to the second of those two matches. We have Team Thailand going against Portugal. Two teams that are in some way or another are returnees to the 7K World Cup. One trying to gain back some lost ground compared to last year, and the other one trying to get further than what they initially would have expected. I am Sergio85, and alongside with me in the commentary booth is Epic Man 2.
Hello! Yeah, thank you so much for that lovely introduction there, Surfchu. And yeah, this is gonna be our match for between Thailand and Portugal C10 versus C23. Both these teams are really prolific when it comes to the 7Q Mania World Cups in general. Thailand maybe a lot more than Portugal, for example, considering the Royal Tournament history alone. But Portugal does have some history with the 7Q World Cup as well, having at least gotten pretty good and ended up in quarterfinals during the 2024 iteration. So looking for Portugal looking to face against the likes of Thailand again. They're looking to try and prove their worth, considering the last time they played, they ended up falling short to Brazil 2 years ago.
Indeed. And for Team Portugal, there are some key returning players here. You have Sun EC4 and Rodrigo in their roster, two veterans. And speaking of returning players as well, Thailand, the big returnee there is Law School. They did not have their absolute best player actually last time around. That's why Thailand wasn't able to place as high in the qualifiers as they should have, ideally, with Law School in last year's qualifiers, really. Anyways, with that said, Thailand is looking to be more of a noodle team going into this match. Team Portugal will be gunning more towards the right side of this pool. As with a lot of these matches in the 7K World Cup, really, we're seeing like two schools of thought for the most part.
Absolutely. I mean, you pretty much hit the nail on the head there with your analogy in that Thailand is practically a more Ellen-centric team. So I would imagine that Portugal would want to at least avoid at least some of these Ellen maps, which they do with an LN2 ban for Tan Yunxi. And then as for Thailand, they're looking to try and ban out one of the rice picks, considering that Portugal does have some pros within that field alone, given that they have their core team members such as Rodrigo and Sonic as well, and the addition of Bat and Warp as well kind of complements them as well, being able to have a second opinion within the team itself to be able to try and at least induce more balance within the team in general. So yeah, very sensible moves to make on the board first here, and then it looks like Thailand is yet to make the first move on the board here.
Also, something that a lot of people might actually be surprised is that some of these teams might actually be protecting the hybrids, which, honestly speaking, like every single main tournament that I've seen, like whenever they have protects, it's either usually protect Rice or LN, or had they been existing, SB charts. Those are usually the ones that are going to be protected or banned. Like no one really touches on the hybrids. This time around, though, we're seeing something a little bit unusual. It's Team Thailand with Irodori Canvas as their protect. So just something for everyone to take note of.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair for the side of Thailand, from their perspective at least, it does make a little more sense for Hyper 2 to be protected, considering that I would definitely imagine it's one of the few picks that they have that would be relatively viable, in my opinion, considering that they do have some good history within these faster hybrids in general, especially if we were to compare it to something like Masayuki, for example, where they basically seeded 13th on that, which is really good, and Portugal did kind of falter a bit on that one as well. So there's a lot of leeway for both these teams to kind of just maneuver with, and it does look like Hybrid 1 does get the first pick as well. Time looking to try and at least get one of the hybrid picks out, just to see what picks are safe and what would be the best moves to start off with in the match if they want to get a quick point here.
Right, this chart in particular is the more quote-unquote generic hybrid between the three hybrid charts that we have in this pool. This one is leaning more towards the noodle ability, so we might be seeing some dynamic here, especially when we get to that point where LN1 or LN3 might end up being picked. Actually, it's more likely that LN3 is going to be picked in this particular match. I don't see Thailand picking LN1 unless like they absolutely have to. And of course, there's also EX2, which is quote-unquote the fourth LN pick in this pool. So lots of things to see here for Team Thailand.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, when you have players such as Lost Cool and Pibu, for example, you can definitely imagine that they basically just have more than enough resources to just go into a match and just fight their way through various of the maps where they basically just need to, considering that this is a really packed tournament in general, and especially with the likes of Sonic and Rodrigo. They have been fighting their way in the 7-key scene for Portugal for quite a while, so it's really interesting to see how they're going to be going about it. And I know for a fact that having seen both these players play before, that they are not anyone to scoff at, really. They are both just as capable of playing well as the players in Thailand are. Maybe, I mean, it probably says a little different given the discrepancy of the seedings between the two teams, but that is kind of besides the point as we go into Hybrid 1 for now.
Pibu with a slightly messy intro. They've managed to recover their accuracy. That's why Thailand is in the lead right now. And a good reason is Lost Cool's accuracy as of the moment. We see both of these Portuguese players, as you mentioned, they are capable of carrying the pressure, really, carrying the weight of this match. Though unfortunately, Sun EC with a combo break. I'm not sure if that is a true break or it's just the climbing client, but it does appear that it is a true break right here. Though you have to look, their accuracies are pretty good, which is a really good sign. They're well within striking distance still. Should any of these Thai players manage to find a mistake here somewhere in this really short chart, I might have to mention.
Oh, and right as you say as well, Pibu
one
misses. Oh my goodness. Okay, that is one of the first signals of faltering from the side of Thailand going into a match, and this is a bit of a crucial one as well, given that this is quite literally their first pick. If it does come down to another miss from perhaps Pibu or even Lost Cool, for example, this could definitely swing things around. But we have seen from Sonic being able to reciprocate that miss, not being able to coordinate the LNs and at least blend their vision between the rice notes and the noodles as well. And yeah, as I said, yeah, there's another miss. Whoops.
Yeah, going into possibly the densest section of this chart right now, Portugal cannot afford to drop any more accuracy as Thailand will be looking to pull ahead a little bit more in this chart. These score streams not really phasing anyone in terms of their accuracies, and we might be seeing a really cracked score from a particular player right here. And also for Rodrigo Lost Cool, like the only full combos left really impressive for both of these players, but what is that accuracy right there from Lost Cool?
Oh my goodness. Just to start the match off as well, you were one great off from a V1SS on this map. That is definitely a statement to be made, and that's definitely Lost Cool's metaphorical method of saying that he is not someone to be messed with going into a match like this. So Portugal has lost their first point, and they are looking to try and see if they can win a point back, considering that they do have a lot of options in general to kind of go into, especially within the rice category, which I would imagine that they can more than definitely challenge the likes of the Thais right here. So if I was to take a bit of a quick gander, so yeah, I think generally they should try and go for something like, okay, they're going rice free. Okay, never mind that.
Okay, yeah, I mean, there's like only two charts a year you can think of. Rice 2 or Rice 3. Does appear that a lot of these teams are looking into Rice 3 as like the safer of the two chord stream picks, which I don't blame them for. Rice 3 is relatively more comfortable, relatively comfier than the other chart, which is, the other chart is like, what, a bracket fest. This one is more of like rolls and stuff and stairs. So,
yeah,
overall more comfy.
Yeah, indeed. Just generally a lot lighter when it comes to some of the more stream-centric picks in the map pools, considering that when it comes to court stream, usually it's a lot easier when it's like really light, which is what you get with a map such as Sayonara, Hana de Robusan, for example. So yeah, definitely makes a little more sense that Portugal would want to throw this one out early as a safe pick. For example, just trying to test the waters of what can be done within this match alone. And there's the potential for it is really still open. There's a lot of room for Portugal to try and challenge the people of the Thailand itself to see whether they can snag a point from the C10 here.
What the key here really is to be able to show the same level of consistency that they showed at the start of the previous chart. Try to limit those misses to maybe even 0, because we don't know what's gonna happen with Thailand in this pick as well. If you're looking into this with Portugal's point of view.
Absolutely. I think like if you were to try and dissect the mind of a tournament player, you want to be able to try and do what you can to play your best. And if it's against a team that is basically very highly anticipated, especially going into this tournament where Thailand's basically just had tons of history prior to this tournament as well in general. So there isn't really much you can really say about the Thais here, especially the fact that they have pretty much done well in every single tournament that they've played, especially having gone second back in 2014. 12 years ago, in fact. So lots of room for error here from the Thais, regardless of which. And it's time to see where Portugal can... Okay.
That is not an ideal start if you're Peeboo right here. And if you're Portugal right now, I'm not... Obviously, this is a multiplayer setting. You're usually not able to see what's happening on the other side, or even your teammate. So at this point, they're just gonna say, you're gonna just hope, you're gonna push as hard as you can and try to be as consistent as possible as well, because you just don't know. Maybe they're seeing signs that they may be in the lead. I don't know, but right now it's so far so good here for Portugal.
All it takes is a little bit of brute force, especially from Portugal. Another miss comes out from Peeboo right here. No one else in the lobby has missed thus far. Sonic in with the highest accuracy in the lobby, being out of Law School, which is definitely really interesting. A really good move from the side of Portugal picking into this, as the scoreline is just increasing to the 30,000 department. Definitely quite the interesting scenario going into the last quarter of the map. This is a really short one as well, so any misses here coming from anyone is going to be super crucial. And if we do end up seeing a miss from the side of Portugal, this could definitely swivel around in multiple directions way too quickly than they can afford.
That really depends on how Portugal ends up missing, if they actually end up being, considering that this chart is about to end. Though I have to mention, Peeboo's hit distribution throughout this entire chart has been pretty shaky. So that's why we've seen like Thailand, unfortunately, we're not able to recover at all really from the very beginning. Also, wow, what is that ratio from Sun EC4?
What? Dude, how did Sun even beat Law School on this pick nearly? It's just less than 1,000 points, and it's really just the grace from Sun. Like, even if it is just about getting the better ratio, just the fact that there was the consistency management from the side of Law School just basically evens out the score lines a bit. It's really just about team consistency going into a match like this. So that is 1-0 for both these teams, and now it is time for Thailand to pick another map that they could possibly win. I would not be particularly surprised if they were to delve more into the hybrid category, but it does look like LM3 is going to be getting the pick for now, looking to save some of the hybrid maps for later.
Actually, it is a really fast pick here by Law School, picking this chart. And again, as I mentioned, Thailand is a noodle team. They traditionally have been a noodle team, even in the old days. Like even before we split the pools into how they're categorized right now, they've always been leaning more towards these physical noodles, I'd say. So this is right up in their alley. You know, for Portugal, you'd want to be super consistent in this chart. This chart is actually what I'd say one of the easiest to combo charts in this entire pool. So
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, they have to be super consistent here if they want to have a chance at stealing a breakpoint here from Thailand.
This is exactly the point where it's going to start becoming important progressively as the match goes on to see whether either of these teams can at least ensure that they can get points, considering the fact that this is a really short match as well. You have to win at least 5 maps to be able to proceed into the next round, which is round of 16. And we know from Portugal that they haven't really had so much experience within the 7 key tournaments or the 7 key World Cups at all. So once again, look, everything's looking really balanced, to say, from both these teams. So it's really interesting if Portugal was to try and eke out some additional advantages just going out of the maps alone, considering that they would have drastically improved from their previous performance 2 years ago.
At the very least, though, for this chart, I think the key here would be whether Pibu can get that accuracy up, or if both Portuguese players maintain this level of consistency and maybe get that average accuracy up as well. Because even with that miss, you saw that the score didn't really swing right into Portugal's side of your screen, because it's a relatively clean miss, not much accuracy drop, already back at where it was before that miss.
Yeah, exactly. I think for the side of Portugal, it's really just a matter of trying to have a player that can at least score as high or reign superior over the lobby as much as Loskul is for the side of the top for Thailand's side, because of the fact that their score is basically at the very top of the lobby, 99.87% for the time being. And even with the one miss from Pepu, that's still canceled out, even despite Portugal having both FCs on the board. It's literally in the middle as Sonic is the next one to miss.
Very unfortunate miss there from Sonic. So it would have been really good already for Portugal, because the scores are practically tied between the two teams before that one miss. And now they have a third of a chart remaining to claw this advantage back. And it does not look good right now, because Pibu has settled down really in this chart.
Yeah, exactly. It's just the... Oh my goodness, another miss comes out from Pibu.
Okay.
Everything's actually looking a little dicey for this map. This is a pick from the side of Thailand as well. So if it does end up becoming a breakpoint for the side of Portugal, just feeding off of Pibu's misses, then this is definitely going to send a message down their spines as another miss comes out from Pibu. But the accuracy, consistency between both the players on Portugal is still just nearly not enough, as the scoreline is just about less than 300 points. It's slowly going against the side of Portugal, and despite Loskul's FC. Oh my god. No.
Oh my
275
god, points. Portugal stealing a breakpoint.
I hope everyone's pick is looking good. Oh my god. Huge. That is madness.
Sunny C unfortunately missing out on the full combo off a dropped LN. It wasn't even a miss. Same for Pibu, actually. No misses coming from the more like LN breaks, really. Rodrigo with a really consistent FC. And that's what I said. Consistency is key here for Portugal.
Yeah, exactly. Portugal just barely even won that by less than 300 points, 275 for the record. So the fact that Portugal actually stole a breakpoint from the side of Thailand definitely means that they have what it takes to challenge that of the higher seeds, which is definitely something that is really interesting to see within the round of 32 in general. And this is a really big space between both of these teams as well. Seed 10 against seed 23 in general. And Portugal is next in line to make their next pick. I would not be surprised if they were to go for something like Rice 2, for example, knowing that they did well in Rice 3 earlier, or perhaps go for something like Vice as well, unless they want to save that for later.
Rice 2 might be a risky play, I'd say. Considering that LN3 is basically a Rice 2 but noodles. Like, if you try to simplify the pattern, to its very fundamentals, really. And we saw how close that was. Maybe Portugal is thinking that it might still be a little bit too close. Maybe let's try to get that one more assurance point and try to get that 2-point lead out of the way.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, you're not wrong on that part either. It's just the fact that when you are in the mentality of a match such as this, where you are at least nearly halfway through with the picks in general, you really just gotta like try and at least understand how you can find your footing like later into the match, considering that Portugal is still only up by 2 points so far. All it takes is another map to be able to initiate the second ban wave, in which, you know, I would definitely expect it's going to remain similar to that of what we saw in the introduction, where we had one rice map ban from Thailand, and then basically Portugal just banned the opposite, banning an LN chart in flesh.
Once you actually get to that stage. But it does appear that Thailand will be doing a substitution. They are bringing Natsurio in to support Law School this time around. If I remember correctly, Natsurio is actually a really decent, or say a really good rice player, coming from that side of the world.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if we were to try and take some kind of analogy here, Natsurio is definitely one of the few players on Thailand that can basically just stack up to the rest as just as well as they can, especially having some good scores on the LN maps from the qualifiers. But bringing them out for a rice map is kind of a bit of an interesting move. Maybe, perhaps, Fibu is probably kind of feeling under the pressure just given their previous performances, and they just want to give someone else the torch so that they can at least try and run away with a single point that Thailand is going to have to sharpshoot for. Especially with it being nearly just as long as rice free, this is going to have to be a battle that Portugal is really willing to fight here.
We're seeing Mirror here from Sunny C4. For those who are new to Mania, the Mirror mod is literally what it sounds like. It just moves the outermost. It just switches the columns really. 1 and 7, 2 and 6, and among others really.
Yeah, especially that, yeah, so pretty much makes all the more sense that Sonic would want to bring out Mirror for this pick as well. Maybe they aren't feeling as confident on a map such as this as much as they pretty much have to feel pressure to play it. Especially the one miss that we saw here. Sonic is still the only lost combo in the entire lobby so far, and even that isn't really as consequential given the fact that we are still only about 7,000 points in the favor of Thailand for the time being. There is still chances that Thailand can at least show some vulnerability on a pick like this, considering that by default it's going to be really difficult to try and at least hack a lot of these really fast double staircases, for example, that are just really flow oriented, and there's just a lot of control aspect to them that it basically ultimately buffs the difficulty of them altogether if it does apply to your mental.
So as you have been mentioning everything regarding this chart, we've seen Natsurio drop a lot of accuracy, which actually gives Portugal just a glimpse of getting the lead here. Natsurio needs to pick up the pace if they want to maintain this lead here. Like, we're seeing the score actually flickered out towards the Portuguese side of your screen. This is super close, but Sunny still with an unfortunate miss as they were about to snatch the lead. We might be seeing a double break point, and we're gonna be back to square one here. We're gonna be on a virtual best of 5.
Oh my goodness, that was a heartbreaking miss from Sonic as well. They had it all together until the very end of this map, where unfortunately they just gave in to the terrors of the tie here. Literally, Portugal was pinching the very edge of the sword. Their fingers just started to bleed, but then it was at that point that the sword just drew through what they could to defend it and at least try to ensure that they had some defense in them to try and fight against the ties here. As we now go into the second ban phase, this is going to be the point where I feel each of these teams are going to have to decide. A 96 from Sonic as well! Oh my god!
Okay, if you are Thailand right now, I would say you might want to ban Rice too. I think that's like that might be the play here. I don't see EX1 getting banned in this match at all. Though I might be eating my words here in a bit. If you're Portugal, on the other hand, LN1 might be your best bet into a ban. Maybe EX2 as well.
Yeah, just anything as long as it just works, more or less. I definitely would imagine that a lot of players would want to stick to banning some of the harder picks in the map pools, considering that with the addition of EX picks to every map pool in this tournament by definition, this is definitely the one thing that players just need to strategize a lot more around. So we see the EX2 ban coming out from Portugal as well. Very sensible ban, looking to try and see wherever they can at least try and pressure Thailand to pick into picks that they may not want themselves, whereas Thailand just basically has the luxury of banning either of the Rice maps that are available on the board. I definitely would want to imagine that Bloody Mary is going to get banned, as much as that is a little risky for them as well as Portugal.
The reason why I don't think EX1 is going to be banned in this phase is that I feel like Thailand is in the position where they have the higher skill ceiling between these two teams, even though everything has been close. Because,
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, this is an easier pool compared to the qualifiers, really. But there is a reason why the seeding gap is right here.
Yeah, it's really just ultimately down to the early game to really just let all demand for players to just try and sharpshoot for what they're good at. And we do see the EX1 ban come out either way. That's honestly a bit of an interesting one, especially taking into consideration what you have basically just said over here, Surfshoot example.
But in the end, the players know more about themselves than we do here in the commentary. All we can do is theorize, really.
It's
If Team Thailand is not confident with EX1 at all, they might be. It might be for the best. It might be for their best, really, to ban it. They're just not comfortable with it at all.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, having the majority of the EX pool banned out is honestly a bit of an interesting one. I definitely would imagine that Thailand would probably at one point need to use Sepia as a potential break in case of emergency type of pick, where you basically need it if you need to at least try and get a point that's going to be super crucial in the match alone. Basically one of the risks that you're going to have to be forced to take, as we do see that Thailand is going to be picking into Hybrid Free, the second of the hybrid picks so far. So definitely a bit of an interesting move to make here as a response, just following the post-mortem of the second ban wave.
I'm not sure if both of these teams are actually avoiding their protects until the very last moment, because it has appeared to be that way. But I actually like how Thailand is picking this right now, because they might have noticed that Portugal has been prone to misses, especially with how the previous chart came, how the previous chart happened. Sun with a few misses at the very end when the chart actually became a little bit denser than relative to the rest of that chart for Rice 1. Meanwhile, this one, you could think of this as like the hybrid version of Rice 1. So they might be working with that theory. Who knows, really? No substitutions from both of these teams as well. So you have Lost School and Natsurio. Maybe try to keep Ibu at the back right now, as you mentioned.
Yeah, exactly. Pipu has definitely been one of the strongest soldiers that Thailand could have asked for so far, so it definitely makes a little more sense that they probably need him to try and gain on some fuel just before they can really be brought back into the action. For the time being, we can definitely see that Thailand has a really small bias within the score line, whereas Portugal's doing a really good job ensuring that they don't get any rough starts anywhere, because This is a really crucial pick for anyone here to ensure that they reach the halfway mark of the maps or the match itself, because this is now a best of 3. This is now a best of 5 situation. Yeah, sorry, I'm stupid.
It's fine, it's fine.
Yeah.
Well, anyways, everyone getting through that section relatively fine. Law School, practically the outlier accuracy-wise, and I think that's pretty much the trend really, as we've seen throughout this entire match. The rest of the room, though, both 99.5s for both Portugal, a mid 99.3, actually almost hitting 99.4 here from Natsurio. And the average accuracy really is still in favor of Thailand, just by virtue of Law School's accuracy pulling this average really towards their side.
Yeah,
in
Law
Portugal
School
right now, you just want to maintain this.
Yeah, exactly. Law School definitely is trying their best to see what they can within matches such as this, because they are... I don't think the majority of Thailand was actually expecting to actually feel the pressure going into a match like this against Portugal. Even with the veterans of Portugal that have played back in 2024, they have drastically improved since then. They are actually fighting it out against one of the higher seeds that we got on the entire tournament. There's only 5,000 points of a difference. So any mistake from the side of Thailand is going to be incredibly risky if it does come down to maybe Natsurio missing, for example. We do see some vulnerability in terms of accuracy from the side of Natsurio, taking some grace here and there, bleeding out some of these unfortunate misjudgments. But unfortunately, Portugal reciprocates them just as much, if not even worse, bringing the lead over to the side of the Thais, going into the 5th map. It is now the next turn. Yeah, I don't know. Oh my goodness.
Also, first 4-way FC in this match, which is really impressive from everyone. Sun with an unfortunate 50 on what could have been a really clean score from them. Also, Law School missing out on another V1SS. Just 1-200 in this chart.
Exactly, just like
Alright, there you go.
Rice
like
Bowl.
clockwork, Portugal now going for Rice Bowl.
Took enough time. I swear it's actually really interesting how this match is actually a lot more equal than I think most people would have been anticipating. Considering that on the mainstream, Venezuela vs Taiwan's also just as even as well. It's now a free all between both of the teams, whilst Taiwan's turn to pick next. Just as a little brief recap to bring it for the viewers here, but I digress. It's now time for Vice, and it does look like both of these teams are looking to be ready. This is going to be a lot riskier than I think Portugal might be feeling, unless they're feeling super confident they can go into this with as minimal breaks as possible.
So, and I think this has been a trend with all of these core jack picks. In the early rounds of the Oceania 7K World Cup, there will always be a player to watch in terms of their ratio, and I think it's already obvious who it is in this particular matchup. And Natsurio has I'd say the unpleasant job of trying to support that level of accuracy, really, considering that Portugal has been showing really good form throughout this entire match. Like, whenever Portugal is not in the lead per chart, they are well within striking distance. So that's like the really good thing happening here for Portugal right now.
Yeah,
like, they're well within striking distance. Like, if anything happens to the Thais, Portugal is right there. They can snatch the lead whenever. It's just a matter of them trying to bring it home.
Yeah, exactly. Lost Cool and Natsurio right here want to try and protect the Thais as best as possible. They had a bit of a rough previous year. Sonic the first to drop, so they are looking to try and see whether they can bring it back. They can run it back from maybe 2 years ago and just a while ago in general. Portugal is looking to try and at least set a name for themselves within the 7-key brackets alone. And they're already doing a really good job at it so far. They've won about 2 points so far, but there's still only so much to win. Going into a map like this where it's just filled to the brim of dense court jacks that you need to alternate between literally all 7 of your fingers, which is honestly just scary.
There's like a lot of finger movements that are really happening here. Lots of places where you can miss while yeah, sure, the rhythm of the chart is pretty much straightforward, but every single movement has to be really precise here. And you already see Sun with a unfortunate miss at the very beginning of this chart. The good thing it is at the very beginning. Like that's a good thing here because it's easy to recover. It's easier to recover if you miss at the very start and just full combo at the end. And they've already at 99.9.
Absolutely, it's not as consequential if you were to miss right here, for example, where you only have one third of the map left, and that is exactly what should be expected of each of the players. Everyone in the lobby is doing really well, with the only outlier is being Sonic with the one miss from the intro. Not Suryo, the next one to miss! No way! Okay, we're back to square one. Back in the middle, Dr. Mario Pill down in the bottom of the depths. 2,000 points for the side of Portugal for the time being. Rodrigo is the one carrying it out altogether. Sonic back to the 99.90% accuracy department as they are continuing to try and at least prove their worth. There's only just about 30 seconds of map left. Can they keep it up for much longer?
So far, so good here for Portugal right now. They just need to take this home. Natsurio will have a really difficult job trying to recover right there in Portugal. Getting this chart, actually, Sunny C with the best ratio of this entire room. Unfortunate miss right there at the very beginning. Portugal, wow, what a revelation here coming from this European team.
In literally, just in general, these are some insane scores to be going through with a round of 32 match such as this. So the fact that everyone just about got under 100 perfects, and yet somehow there was still faults on either side with the unfortunate misses from Natsurio and Sonic. It was ultimately the unfortunate situation or the placement in the map that Natsurio missed in that basically gave up the lead to Portugal. And now that is another point lost for the side of Thailand. Oh, this is now the best of 3 situation. Only 2 maps remain for either team to win to see who can make it out of this match without having to go tiebreaker.
So Thailand should go for the protect right now, and I think that's like the reply that Thailand has to make. Like no way they're picking LN1 at this point. Like, they have to do hybrid too.
Absolutely. This is definitely one of those picks that I would imagine Thailand would have had to at least bring out, like I mentioned, as oh no, that was for EX3, my bad. That descriptor.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is still a really strong pick from the side of Thailand as well, especially the fact that they have showcased some prowess within hybrid maps in general. So the fact that they still have this weapon of theirs to bring out into the battlefield is still just as good. They just need to try and at least make the most out of this one, because this is where options are starting to become really dire. They want to try and pressure Portugal to try and at least beat them, to at least win the match before they do. However, Portugal is also running out of options as well. It's really just between this map, one LN, one Rice, and then the only remaining EX3 pick. That is basically just the pseudo tiebreaker of this whole match.
Like, though I actually have to say this right now, EX3, if Portugal picks EX3, they're gonna I'd say they're a really brave team. At least in theory, but we've seen crazier things happen throughout this entire match already. So who knows? I mean, this pick could even go to Portugal's side for all we know.
Yeah, one miss from the side of Natsurio, right as you say that as well. There is definitely signs of hope for Portugal to try and see whether they can sharpshoot for that victory on another breakpoint, which is going to be incredibly crucial for them, and another likely insane upset to happen that is literally on the board. Time is ticking for both these teams to try and ensure they can at least beat the match and beat each other out of the winner's bracket, because once again, not one of these teams has to go through into round of 16's winner's bracket regardless. So if it does end up being Portugal, that is definitely going to shake Thailand by quite a bit, and we have seen some tremendous matches going into the earlier parts of the round of 32 as well. Oh my god, no way.
Oh my god, that's an unfortunate miss.
Oh my god, no.
Like, I'm actually shocked right now. Like, is this really happening? Like, Portugal, number 23 seed, against a team that is traditionally powerhouse of the 7K World Cup. They're putting them in a position right now where they might actually bring them to the losers bracket in before we even hit tiebreaker.
We've seen this on Thursday, dude. There's no way that this is actually going to be happening. I was there for that match as well, commentating the Australia vs Ireland match. So if we see anything similar with Portugal being the one to bring matters into their own hands, this is going to really shift the tides by quite a lot. The floodgates are already opening. The walls are already collapsing. The dams are being dammed down into hell, as it's 10,000 points of advantage to Portugal for the time being, and still remaining in that position.
Well, again, as I said, Portugal just needs to bring this home now. Do not fight any miss at the very end. And it's so far so good. Like, we only have a few seconds remaining. They should be able to. And I have to say this right now, Portugal has done a really good job already at this point.
Absolutely, that is match point for Portugal. And even despite the strongest efforts of Lost Cool getting that 189 perfect near V1SS minus the 1 great, this is already looking to be a shake from Portugal. They're looking to shake up the world, literally try and see whether they can make a big name for themselves within the 70 bracket itself. However, Thailand is still trying to prove to themselves that they can at least catch up to their former shell. Can we see it in the next pick? Because at this point, if Thailand wants to try and make it out, they're going to have to force the tiebreaker regardless. Portugal, next in line to pick. There is only really one choice that I feel that they can make that is at least the most potential one, that is less risky than everything else, and it has to be Rice 2. There's no other way otherwise, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, LN1 is practically giving the tiebreaker away. Giving a point away. EX3, while sure anything could happen, but who knows really. Plus, you have to remember, while sure Thailand is in the corner right now, but there's a reason why they're number 10 seed. There's a reason why, and it's this thing called a skill ceiling. If Portugal can break through that skill ceiling right now, this might be one of the greatest upsets in Mania 7K World Cup history. And we've seen already one of them in this week, in this round.
Yeah, just the fact that there's always the potential knocking on the door for potential upsets that are going to shake and change history the way it is. This is exactly the main expectation that I feel a lot of players are going to be having going into this iteration. The biggest 7K Oceania World Cup iteration since 2016. And everyone is actually pulling their weight. You can no longer discern which teams are actually representative of their seed, because most teams in general, I think most people's perception of people just under the 20 seed marker would probably look at them and go, oh, this team, it should be relatively solid, but I don't think they stack against the likes of the top leagues, for example. Whereas you're literally seeing it right now with Portugal just shaking Thailand and literally just like cornering them as much as they are also cornered, as if they're literally in the smallest square room of Portugal 2, for example.
You know, I have notes going into this match. When Portugal managed to steal an LN chart from Thailand, of all teams, I immediately erased that note and now I'm going into the rest of this match without any regard really of history at this point. Because I don't know what's happening. I have no idea what's happening. Portugal on match point, trying to deny Thailand the chance of making a comeback. Meanwhile, Thailand is going to be bidding for what might be a very unexpected tiebreaker.
Exactly. This is the one thing that I think most people were not expecting from Portugal this year. We've already seen yet another big upset earlier on Thursday, as we really love to mention. I'm becoming a broken record at this point just saying it, but it's just true. You just you just lose expectations as soon as the matches keep going, because at this point, I think most people's pickings are just destined to be ruined with a match like this. Mine already are, because I thought that Thailand was probably gonna like just simply hit Portugal out of the park. But no, Portugal is just fighting back and is still in the middle going past the first quarter of this map as well, as we have made a start.
Rodrigo is actually running with a better accuracy right now compared to Natsurio, just over a 0.1%, and that's why Team Portugal is in the lead right now. Sun and Law School are practically tied accuracy-wise. But like, this is still super close. Like, we're well within 1,500 points between these two teams. Anything could still happen at this point.
Yeah, exactly. Some really dense brackets appear here and there. A lot of finger control that is required to play a map like this at 141 BPM. The score is still in the middle, and despite it all, Thailand is just eking it out with a 2,000 point lead for the time being. But how much does that actually mean in comparison? So all the other picks we've seen so far, we have seen vulnerability from the side of Thailand, despite how many times they've actually managed to at least try and fight back. Just trying to at least ensure that they have the higher accuracy overall and the better team performance and consistency between Lost School and Natsurio, trying to complement each other. It's still so equal that it's just hard to discern who exactly is going to be making it out, especially with Sonic and Rodrigo being able to catch up to the likes of Lost School and Natsurio. 3,000 points going to the final quarter. There's still less than 30 seconds of the map left. There needs to be no misses for Thailand to be able to force the tiebreaker here. The first of the 7 Key World Cup 2026 round of 32 weekend.
Actually, what tiebreaker is happening right now on the other stream, by the way. It would be really funny if this goes to tiebreaker.
The middle!
Oh, no, wait. No, what?
One foul! 1,100 points! Oh my god, no! Bro, Portugal was so close to being able to get that! But the fact that Thailand just barely made it by a scrap. It is time for a tiebreaker. A double tiebreaker in one sitting. There is no way. This is unheard of in round of 32, I think. Oh my goodness.
Oh my goodness, indeed. This doesn't happen. This usually does not happen in 7K. Especially with a seeding gap this wide.
Dude. This is insane. Oh my god. Bro, I'm at a loss for words right now, but I'm gonna continue just simply throwing out whatever's in the English dictionary at this point. But, oh my god. How? There's no way this actually wins a tiebreaker, right? Is Portugal? Portugal is onto something. They literally have placed a gunpowder plot somewhere in Bangkok, for example, and yet somehow Thailand is just trying to figure out the direction and where exactly it is. Yet somehow Portugal is still trying to find success in the plan alone. Can we see which team, can we see the upset happen? Or is Thailand going to fight back and try and remain with such a prestigious title, being able to try and proceed in the tournament without much mistakes in the round of 32 bracket? Because this is only the first weekend of the actual bracket stage.
Well, there are 5 minutes. Well, there are 5 minutes and 3 seconds in between the question and the answer to said question. And the problem is we don't even know what the answer is going to be. We will only know after this chart ends.
There's so many questions that demand answers, and the elephant in the room is literally just staring right into the soul of the tournament scene, really, and is just asking, address me. There is literally no other way this match can really be done, and there was really no other better time to bring out Pibu back into the fray once again. The most important point that they're gonna have to need a player like Pibu to try and complement out of Lost School, the strongest efforts of the likes of Natsurio has been commenced, and it's done for. Pibu is now back in the game. They're looking to try and fight against the likes of Portugal to try and ensure that they can fight on this tiebreaker as much as Portugal has shown the potential that they're actually made of for the first time in eons even. Yeah, as we slowly get started with the map itself, this is Manan Okigasa. This is a 5-minute map in the round of 32 pool, near almost 6 stars, and there's a ton of control required to play a map such as this. We see a double combo reset from the side of Portugal. That's already a negative sign starting off, even if it's really early into the match. The longer the map is, and it's just ultimately going to become a lot difficult to ensure that favor is at least met within oneself's side. And that is exactly what Thailand is trying to fight for, with both combos intact. Lost Goal and Pibu basically carrying each other, rolling off their backs in general, looking to try and fight the Portuguese. Once again, a double miss comes from the side of Pibu and Rodrigo in unison.
Well, finally my internet starts to make a comeback here. Team Thailand with what I'd say might be a really decent margin, already going into what I'd say one of the most vital parts of this chart, because this part you cannot afford to miss at all. Like, this might be what I'd say is like one of the only like the trickiest parts of this chart, really. And as much as possible, you'd want to maintain your combo at these more straightforward sections.
Exactly.
I don't even know what I'm talking about anymore. Like, this is how crazy this match has been.
It's okay. Neither do I. If that can make you feel better for maybe just a few minutes of the match itself. Another miss comes out from Sunek. This is potentially going to bring the end and bring doom into the doors of Portugal. They have done what they could to try and fight against it. They just needed to avoid the tiebreaker to really just ensure that they don't have to exhaust the physicality cap that really sets them back compared to the side of Thailand in general. This is exactly what we have been alluding to the entire match, that Thailand ultimately just has the better physicality and the better dexterity for when it comes to the harder and more physical picks. For example, this one being no exception to that by any means necessary. They're 20,000 points ahead of the game, and there's a lot of core jack alternation that you really need to keep a watch of.
Regardless of whatever really happens at the end of this chart, Team Portugal has shown a really formidable performance, and I cannot wait to see how they will be tackling the losers bracket if they actually don't make a comeback at the last half of this chart. Again, we've seen crazier stuff, but I'm really not sure if things could get crazy enough to even alleviate a 26,000 score gap that is increasing.
Yeah, it's just really hard to fight against if you already are down by so much combo, and imagine you're in the shoes of Rodrigo, for example. You're basically just trying what you can to try and fight the scores of Thailand, trying to ensure that you're at least ahead of the game, trying to equalize or at least match that of Pibu's score to try and see whether you can just fight against the ties in general. However, we have seen tons of chokes from the side of Portugal as well. A double miss from Pibu as well, but one of them is nullified by Rodrigo's miss, and another miss from Sonic comes out to nullify the miss altogether. That is all emphasis lost on the misses alone, and it just keeps continuing despite everyone's wishes for Portugal to try and complete the upset.
Well, at this point, really, like, if you're Portugal, you just want to finish this chart with as high of a score as you can, as high of a team score as you can, at least to send a message to everyone in the lower bracket that we're here to compete. We're not here to just make the numbers. Meanwhile, for Thailand, well, there is a score in particular that I don't want to mention right now because it's looking really impressive. some one for the highlight reel, I'd say.
Oh yeah, of course. You never want to jinx scores like that, which are just waiting to happen to really set the standard that of Thailand in general. That they are not a team to be messed with. They did get shaken throughout the rest of the map pools. However, it was just down to risks alone to try and bring it all to a tiebreaker. And even then, Thailand, with the return of Pibu exactly, just helped just push them further into the equation as they win the tiebreaker 5-4. Thailand prevents the upset successfully and makes it into the round of 16 bracket. Despite what the Portuguese have been doing, they put a really strong fight against the likes of the Thais. However, unfortunately, even their efforts is not enough on a tiebreaker like this, pushing into the round of 16 bracket and going to be facing between the winner between Hong Kong and Brazil. Also just as much insane opponents to be potentially facing in a tournament such as this early on. Whereas it does look like Portugal is going to be facing the opposite of that team as well. Going to be facing whoever loses as well.
Yeah, for Thailand, the winner of that match, either way, is going to be a really hard opponent. One is a traditionally strong 7K team. The other has some returning players that are really strong at 7K as well. So Thailand has one heck of a test waiting for them next weekend. But for now, they can celebrate. They can celebrate one heck of an escape. Also, I have to give Law School a shout out right there. Full comboing the tiebreaker. What a really, really strong performance they're coming from the best Thai player in Oceania. In Oceania 7K, really. Meanwhile, for Portugal, whoever their opponent is next week, as well, it might as well be the same difficulty as what Thailand would be facing next weekend. Like, any of the two opponents are going to be really hard. And it would be, and one of those matchups as well is like, as you mentioned at the very beginning of this stream, Portugal did get eliminated by way of the other Portuguese-speaking country. One of the two Portuguese-speaking countries in this round of 32, by way of Brazil, in their last appearance in the World Cup. So, gonna be quite history-loaded matchup, really. But anyways, I'll leave it to you to close this one out.
Yeah, indeed. You pretty much hit the nail on the head once again with that description, Surfchu. Like, there's just a lot of tales to be told, and there's a lot of history yet to be made within the tournament as well, given that it is one of the biggest iterations of the 7K World Cup that we've had since 2016, 10 years ago in general. So, lots of things are waiting to happen, and there honestly isn't a better time for either. This is honestly one of the most anticipated iterations of the 7K World Cup yet, and we literally get to see the opponent between Thailand and Portugal next as well on the mainstream, as it does look like Venezuela and Taiwan did go tiebreaker as well, with the likes of none other than Venezuela being the victor of that match alone. So yeah, do keep on the watch for more teams and what they're going to be doing to make their way into the round of 16. And we will hopefully catch you all later. So once again, this has been Epic Man 2, joined by Surfchu85. We will catch you in a few hours, or well, later. Be sure to switch to the mainstream for more matches and MWC goodness. Bye-bye.